All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get us started if everybody can hear me now. Welcome, everybody. Good to see everybody. And we'll get started now. I know that there are people that will be joining us that will be popping in here shortly. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Rebecca and let her lead us through some of these. And I'm going to be sharing my screen. So if you'll give me just a second as your section comes up, if you want me to share something, and we'll get it up there. Thanks.
All right, and thanks everybody for joining us again. We made it through the first month and signed on for another one, so thank you. And I just realized I should have printed out the agenda because now I'm on Zoom and I can't get back to the agenda page that I'm normally looking at, but you know, we'll muddle through. These are all things that happen. Anyway, I was just going to give a quick recap of our last month's meeting, which was our first meeting, which I think went really great. You know, got a lot of good feedback from there, and I'm excited about where we're going to go from here. But you know, everybody, when we learned from Bob more about the Livable Communities Initiative, and everyone kind of talked about what motivates us individually, why we're interested in working on this, and an AARP specific project for Jamestown, and why we think it's a good idea. And it seemed to split into maybe three main areas when people talked about the things they're passionate about. Pedestrian and cyclist friendly roadways, senior programming and caregiver support, and then Parks and Rec program, and making sure that there are activities and spaces related to Parks and Rec for all seniors. So at the end of the meeting, I wanted to talk a little bit more about where we could maybe fit housing in. But mainly I'm just excited to hear back from folks who have gone back, done some more research, or maybe pulled information together from projects they're already working on, to see where we can tie in with existing things that are happening, and areas where we could be more effective, maybe moving forward with new projects. And so with that, if we want to start, I guess, reporting out, that would be great. And Matt, I think, is Tom up first on that?
Yes, Tom is up first.
All right. So I'll hand it to Tom.
Tom, we can see you, but I can't hear you. I don't know if you have the mic turned on.
And Matt, was there a presentation or some slides?
I do. I have his slides ready to go. I'm just not sure if he can hear us or not.
Tom, can you hear us? I'm guessing no from the look he's giving. There a way to?
Do you want to move on and let that Susan do hers, or Laura?
Laura, can you hear us? Okay, we can't hear you, so unmute.
I think I was muted by someone else.
Yeah, I actually have to do that because if I don't keep everybody muted, it gets a little bit of feedback in the loop, and it can get a little wonky. So I keep everybody on mute. So sorry, Laura.
That's fine. No, I'm teasing. Okay, so I guess I was asked to take a look at senior resources of Guilford County and what programs we are already taking advantage of, as well as maybe some low-hanging fruit of programs maybe that we could leverage if we chose to. And this stops short of envisioning the step beyond that, more of looking at what's currently available. So I think you have a summary page. Okay.
It should be up now.
So there's several programs that we are already actively taking advantage of. The first is Meals on Wheels, which is really limited because of a waiting list. They can only service so many people, but currently about 18 to 20 people who are homebound are able to receive a hot meal from, I guess, volunteers pick it up from the fire station and deliver it to them. So we have a limited participation in that. There is currently 2 caregiver resource centers, and basically these are locations that they keep stocked with information of resources in the Guilford County area. There's one at the library, and then there was one set up at Jamestown United Methodist Church just before we locked down. So it probably has information from a year ago. Pam Burgess was just trying to call me, so I don't know if she's trying to get in. Then the next activity was a memory cafe. They have had memory cafes in Greensboro, High Point, and then the most recent one was in Jamestown. And we had reached out to them wanting to start one locally, mainly because it came up within the Alzheimer's support group meeting as a program they had used in other areas or taken advantage of in other communities. And so we worked with Senior Resources to set that up. We were using the Oakdale campus, and it, because we did a great deal of advertising and had a lot of pull through from the church, was really one of the best attended in the community. And I think that's a side note for any of the programs that we choose to start. Advertising, communications, and even having vested parties participating in the launch of it will help to get it kicked off. You know, early on, that momentum's kind of hard to get rolling. There's 2 other programs that are not necessarily something we think about, but is available and used out of our community is the senior line. This is a number that you can call, and you can basically get a self-assessment as to what programs you qualify for, whether it's Meals on Wheels or other support programs in the community. And it is just a one-stop call that anybody can get involved in. And then the last one is the Senior Wheels, where you can get medical transport if you have non-emergency medical appointments. They have volunteers that will drive you to your appointment. So those are the programs that currently people in our area are leveraging with Senior Resources Guilford County. There's a couple of programs that are going on that some of the other smaller towns in our area are taking advantage of. One of them is the Rural Outreach Program, and the other is the Community Nutrition Program. They actually have a person that run these programs, and so it's not like you have to have a lot of volunteers to help make it happen, but you would have to basically provide a facility and in most cases help to pay for the meals that they provide in those outreach efforts. But the Rural Outreach Program, they both cater to people 60 and older, and they both are focused on I guess socially leveraging the people so that they have that social interaction. And hold on a second, I think that Pam's trying to, Rebecca, can you send the link to Pam? So yeah, so she has lost that link. So the difference, I guess the Rural Outreach Program is more of a once a month kind of activity. It's usually like a 2-hour around a meal, whether it's a lunch or dinner, and they bring in speakers or entertainment. So it is really more of a kind of social and feeding engagement, kind of like the Memory Cafe, but more targeted to a non-dementia impacted population. So it's just the over 60 population. That also includes sometimes quarterly meetings where they have a special event. And it can also be an annual picnic that they often have at each of these facilities. So again, it is a social engagement, usually around food and entertainment. The community nutrition program is a 5-day-a-week program, and you are asked as a person who participates in it to come to at least 2 days a week. Right now, as they're not meeting, you can go Mondays and you actually get 5 frozen meals that you can take home and fix at your house during the week. But there's a lot of emphasis on nutrition and health. Sometimes they're doing like blood pressure checks or that kind of things. But also they may do field trips or activities around just socialization and education. So those are the 2 easy low-hanging fruits that we could say, hey, we would like to offer this in Jamestown. How do we get started with that? So those are my updates from Senior Resources of Guilford County.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Laura. Did they happen to mention, or is it, can you not know until you get a head count of about how much it costs communities to be able to provide those other 2, the rural outreach and the community nutrition?
Well, obviously the rural outreach is once a month meal for the number of participants. And so I would assume that they're in the $5 to $10 range for the head count for lunch.
Okay.
I think they're actually using Golden Corral for their rural outreach program. And that is not a dietary restricted menu. The community nutrition program is very driven by a dietitian and very health conscious and very strict requirements as to what menu they're serving. So I don't know. We'll have to see if that's something we want to do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Rebecca, I believe that we have Tom back with us now on audio. I'll get him unmuted.
And I think, Dee, did you have a question about this part or like? And we can't hear you. You've got your mute on.
There we go. Okay, the Golden Corral meals. Mom and I received our first today. The gentleman that delivered it, he was amazing. The requirements are, of course, that you be disabled, that you be, it's not so much income based, but when you receive your Meals on Wheels, if you don't appear at the door after 3 times, you're booted. The food is fantastic. It's perfectly packed. You feel really comfortable with what you get. I can't say yet whether it's the healthiest stuff or not, but I can say I absolutely love it. And I know the Snells are participating in Meals on Wheels through the Rotary Club, Jamestown Rotary Club.
So that brings up another point that there are some services provided through some other agencies, not just Senior Resources of Guilford County.
Mm-hmm.
There's Pam.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it looks like we have a full house now, so that's good.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Katie, we had a problem getting the link to me. Don't ask me why.
We were on.
But
So
I'm here. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. I guess, Tom, since you're connected audio now, do we want to move on to you? And you'll need to unmute too.
There we go. You hear me now? Okay. This is all new to me. The Zoom with the. So anyway, yeah, what I looked into were essentially in the areas of parks and recreation, and found 2 efforts, if you will, that have begun, and I put together a short summary of them more than anything else. That being the title page next, working beyond that. They were from the town council and a consulting firm that the town, I believe, hired called McAdams for short. The town council did not, as I understand it, Rebecca, you can correct me, vote on this, but these were the propositions using the resources here in Jamestown that essentially would be helpful for seniors. In some cases, I have edited them down to just address things that I thought would be useful, helpful for seniors. But in this case, the objectives you'll see are pretty complete, whether we would use them as seniors or not. Ren Miller, which is right across the street from the town hall, I think you probably all know where that is. The proposition is to add bathrooms and water fountains, which I think we would appreciate, and add some shade on the knoll facing the stage. Moving on to the area by the golf course, that complex, just past the golf course, the farthest complex, which has essentially what I'll call the ball fields. The ideas that the town council has been considering are to add ADA pathways, add field numbers. There are a number of fields, and that would be helpful with the current layout. Renovating the concessions, I can tell you that that is absolutely necessary, but could be very, very useful in bringing more participation and also viewers, grandparents going out there. And then adding lights. If the fields were to stay as they are, and I'll explain that in a minute, lights obviously do provide the ability to use these at night. Moving to the neighborhood park, which is simply the area adjacent next to the fields, but you'll see from the road, you'll see swings there and a basketball court, etc. What they're thinking about, what the Jamestown Council is thinking about, are replacing equipment, modernizing it, if you will, adding ADA access, again, renovating the bathrooms, which would be a great idea, adding benches, tables, and trash receptacles, again, all very much needed with the current layout, and adding a dog park, which we personally don't have any pets, but I think would be a very, very welcome addition to attract other participants and citizens to go out there. So that's what the Jamestown Council has been looking at, but a vote on whether or not to proceed, as I understand it, was postponed or tabled, whatever the appropriate words are. Would that be, am I accurate in that, Rebecca?
Yes, there was some question. It really comes down to the baseball fields. And so there had been some question that we maybe would be able to have those offsite or offsite at a place that we didn't normally have them. And so we were just sort of wanting to wait that out and see how that played out. But now we're looking at this again. And, you know,
okay,
we'll move forward from here. But this is great. And I love that you highlighted, you know, the bathrooms in a couple of places, because that's, you know, that's a great example of how something that's good for the senior population is great for young people. It's great for everybody.
Yeah, the bathrooms are, but I would tell you, in emphasizing places for us, and I'll just say us, to sit down, benches, covered areas, walkways, so that, I can envision the possibility of grandparents going out and, but I want to sit down, most places while I watch the kids play. And of course I would like to be able to walk there easily. And again, I think a dog park that you're considering is a good idea. I will also just add my 2 cents that I would challenge the need for all the fields, which I'm over at the golf course a lot personally, and the fields are used on the weekends. That's it. And so now, as a resident here, taxpayer, would I want my money invested in lights in particular and numbers when these things are used, 2 days out of a week during the season, because it's definitely not every weekend. But that's editorial comment. If we could move on, Matt, to the other proposal that this I edited down significantly, but in talking about the activities that that were proposed, you'll see at the bottom of the footnote, the sources, the McAdams consultant, they put together, and you're all welcome to it. It's I think it's 95 pages. I printed it all out. So it's quite complete and covers an awful lot of ground. But the activities that I saw in their proposal that were particular interest to seniors, not as spectators, but more participants, were outdoor music, social programs, and outdoor fitness and wellness. I walk an awful lot. Having a place to go where I could do that and maybe be more social at the same time would be out at the Jamestown Park area. I mean, it just seems natural to me. Now the amenities that I picked from the McAdams brief was, as you see there, natural surface trails, again, for walking, in a relatively confined area rather than, the Greenway Trail that goes everywhere. Dog park, an extension of the Greenway system, fitness and exercise. Access to the water was an interesting one to me, but I can see the attraction to doing that. High Point Lake being right there. Pathways for bicycle and walking, to all points in Jamestown. This was an interesting one to me. It has been discussed before. The sidewalk that leads from Jamestown, going out toward Guilford College, is I think part of that thought. Anyway, fitness walking loops, a senior center, which I think would be a wonderful addition if we can't find an existing building to use. Nature trails, community gardens. I find that a very interesting idea. Splash pads, I don't know how many of us would put on bathing suits and go through them, but the grandchildren would love them. So that sort of summarizes what I'm going to talk about in more length. On the next page, please. and this I won't go over, but this is essentially what is right beside the golf course, the existing area. If I might highlight a couple of things, in the far right corner, you see the dog parks, updated playground for kids moving across. You then, again, basketball court, but a shelter. Again, the shelter next to the playground, the shelter next to the basketball courts, I think are wonderful for us if we want to go out there and just, if you will, be entertained, if not participate. You see in the middle a parking lot, which exists now. And then my belief is that the areas to the left of that center parking lot are where we had fields now, ball fields now, and instead they have two grassy areas, a stage, fitness wall, they're saying, plaza seating. You can read all of these possible new, I believe these would all be new construction additions or modifications of, again, what right now are the soccer fields and the ball fields. I see a lot of potential for that. I think they would get used a lot more than the ball fields, but they also include an indoor fitness building with restrooms, which was a surprise to me, as well as outdoor fitness equipment. And then you see seating. It's a conversion or updating of what exists that would cost some money because of the shelters, but and updating the equipment that's there. But I think it would be great for us seniors with grandchildren, as well as if we just, well, with our dogs and walking around. It'd be a safe area where we could get exercise. So it sort of summarizes a great deal of what the McAdams consulting people recommended. Now, nothing was done with this as far as I know. I think the town council said, thank you very much. We'll think about it, and that was it. Am I correct in that, Rebecca?
Yeah, that again, we kind of put a pause on it because we were waiting to learn more about the baseball field situation. Part of this, the reason that you're seeing some new things is because, and Matt can jump in and clarify this more if I'm going down the wrong path, but there are grant opportunities if you kind of create something out of, that's completely new, but there really don't exist so many grants for situations where you're just wanting to upgrade existing facilities. And so that's why, yes, this would be very expensive and this is all very shiny and new. But the idea behind part of that is that, we would qualify for grant with a brand new project versus if we were just wanting to upgrade existing things, grantors just typically aren't as excited about just, keeping things up to par. They want something brand new, shiny. And all of this would be, very nice, certainly. But that's sort of the thought behind it. And like I said, council is moving towards picking it back up and doing more discussion about that. In fact, the budget stuff we had last week and then the prior meeting, we've been talking about it a little bit more and wanting to, move forward and making some more decisions.
That's correct. So the primary funding mechanism for grants for recreation is the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, the part of grant process. And they will not give grants for maintenance of existing facilities. They want to see new facilities being built. So that was the information that Rebecca gave you is accurate. The other side of this is that we did a lot of public input, and we were basing the recreation components that are in this plan off of what people said that they would like to see. So dog parks, for example, were rated very high. And some of the amenities related to walking and exercise. We are also working on an option B for that plan to see exactly what the cost would be to continue to keep recreation fields there, baseball fields, possibly a soccer field as well, and maybe doing synthetic turf, and of course lighting there. So we're trying to see what our options are, and we'll be bringing that to the April 20th council meeting for hopeful adoption of the plan at that time. That doesn't mean that we will select an option at that moment. It just means that we'll have the plan on ready to go, so that when we do want to have further conversations with the Parks and Recreation Committee and the town council, we'll be ready for that. And then we can select which phases we want to do, what options we want to do, and then work towards having a grant application in the not too distant future.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, the last two pages, unless there's anything else on these, the last two pages are really much more detail. I wanted to include them because the town did go through the effort of putting together a questionnaire and getting people to rank them. So what the last two pages are is essentially the result. The first one dealing with the amenities, and the second one dealing with the adult programs that Jamestown residents have already told the council they would like. Now, what they've done, which is very helpful, is they have said that the ones with the longest bars are the ones that the most people want it, I gather. So they're the most popular, going down to the least. But I picked essentially those that I thought were relevant, and that's what you see on the prior. I'm sure not going to go through the list of all of these, but they are available, obviously, to anybody who wants a copy of this presentation. I don't know really what else to say that makes any sense for this particular call.
That's great. Thank you, Tom. And you can see, when these results came in, the things that appeal to adults and seniors are very high on each of those lists. So that's, it's an exciting time to be working on all this together.
Yeah.
Doing. All right. And Laura had a question?
Having kids that have played soccer all through high school and Jesse in college, one of the big issues was lack of playing fields. And I wonder if there was some, I don't know if things have changed recently, but I would think the community of children playing sports would really challenge losing those fields. And that would be quite an uproar. And the other question was around indoor athletic facility with the Y and all the gyms in the immediate area. Why is that something above like a community meeting space or a senior resource center? So just trying to wrestle with those being part of the main plan.
And I wanted to add to that, Laura, because in some of my research, outside of Mary Perry Ragsdale, For seniors in this area, statistically, most seniors are going to either the Griffin Community Recreation Center, which is in Greensboro on Hilltop, or either to the Rob B. Culler Jr. Senior Center over in High Point. So what's happening is we are getting people in our immediate community in Jamestown who are going to those facilities because some of their activities and amenities are free, whereas you're having to pay, you know, a fee for Mary Perry Ragsdale. Example, would be at the Griffin Center. They have something that's called Ahoy, which means adding health to our years. And they have exercise activities on specific days or whatever for people who are 55 and older, and that is free. However, again, it's located in Greensboro. So I'm thinking that going forward, our thoughts are trying to keep things in Jamestown as we are communicating. But and I agree with you what you're saying, because from my research, I'm just seeing those two most popular places outside of Ragsdale, the Y, that have things that are amenities for people, you know, senior years or golden years, as they would call them as well. Those are the two most popular places in our area that, you know, people are going to in Greensboro in the immediate area. So, you know, as Tom said, you know, speaking of a senior center, you know, if that's something that would be implemented into our town, would be something sort of like the Griffin Center, where you have more of an informative place to go for, you know, resources for information, or free computer classes for seniors, or free health screenings or something like that.
I think of Griffin, I mean, it might be a half a mile outside of Jamestown. And I don't know how important is it to feel like it has to be, I think, readily available. And I think, like you said, discounted or free services. But I hate to think that we're putting something in that is already being serviced adequately.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. And my reason for saying that, Lauren, you're right, is because we don't want to have something that is overlapping coming over. So that's why I said these two, in my research, those two areas, you know, within a small radius in miles to Jamestown, are being used for seniors.
Okay,
good. And you're right. And that's one of the things that I thought about. And I, you know, especially as it relates to the Griffin Recreation Center, I have used their facilities from time to time. And you're right, it's very close. So, you know, that's something that would certainly have to be taken into consideration, you know, because it is, you know, very close in radius to Jamestown. But I will say that they do have a lot of resources that are good for, you know, aging people.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I just wanted to ask, my child, she's 31 now, but she didn't participate in local sports. So is there still a Jamestown Youth League, or who are the groups that are organized that use those fields? I'm a little behind on this.
So primarily Jamestown Youth League and the YMCA are and we have another group that does soccer here in town as well, called Soccer Shots. Those are the primary groups that are renting those fields. You know, the main issue that we've had over the years, as far as, you know, to sort of address Tom's comment that they're not used as much, is the lack of lighting on those fields. I know that we would get a lot more use of the fields if they were lighted. Another thing to be concerned with is they are grass fields. If you put lights on them and you use them over and over and over again, they won't stand up to that type of use long term. So our park superintendent has, talked about that over the years about, making sure that we balance the use of the fields. The other component there, I think you asked was who else was interested. We have had other sort of independent groups that come. There's been a flag football team that wanted to use the field as well. But primarily it's Jamestown Youth League, the YMCA, and soccer shops.
Okay, thank you.
All right, would you want to move on to Pam?
Yeah, actually, I'll just go ahead and do because some of that I just spoke about was pretty much a little bit of the research that I had done as far as recreation in our immediate area. But I will be glad to give everybody just an update on the Comprehensive Planning Steering Committee. So the Jamestown Comprehensive Planning Steering, and please, before I go any further, please interject or correct me if I don't have it all right. So anyway, the Jamestown Comprehensive Planning Steering Committee was appointed by the town council. The steering committee is made up of citizens, local citizens who are volunteers. To date, there are, I think, 10 to 12 active members serving on the committee. The comprehensive planning is really envision Jamestown, which I love that word. The process is for the committee to assist the town, the committee, town council, and the staff as advisors with planning and implementation of the town's development, decisions, and growth. To date, the committee has actively participated in interviews with consultants to assist the town with future planning. And with that being said, we successfully selected Benchmark Planning, in whom we're working with now, and we continue to work with. Thus far, we've completed with Benchmark surveys and interests of concerns. We have explored Jamestown via a downtown walk, which was a tour over the course of 2 days, which was a very successful endeavor, I would say. The tour was very helpful in educating the citizens and those involved in the walk or the tour about Jamestown's past and thoughts about possible growth for the future. So to date, while working with Benchmark Planning, the vision statement is in the final, I think the revised final draft, but we do continue in discussions regarding the growth, historic and cultural resources, our downtown and our neighborhoods, and the process will include extensive public input, which we're hoping to discuss over our next upcoming meetings about implementing some input from the citizens and the town going forward like we did before COVID. I did kind of lose a little bit of because of COVID and everything and our having not meeting and what have you, but a little bit of the survey stuff, I kind of lost it in the middle of that, but we still are in the process of working with Benchmark and planning on hoping to continue with this process of the growth and the future of Jamestown over the next 10 years. I would say maybe, and you would say, if you agree with this, Rebecca, once we have the revised vision statement, totally final, we'll be glad to share that with our group, maybe the next meeting, once we really have it firm. I'm sure everybody would love it. I think it's good. So that's what I have outside of the little bit of research that I have done about, recreation in our immediate area and how it would affect the golden years and the aging.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. And, I know it sounds like all of those walking tours went really well. What a fun thing to do.
Yes.
would be neat if we just continued doing, periodically in general. It seemed like it got people really energized, and put different groups of people together maybe. But really, especially looking at that downtown area, a lot of the discussion, I wasn't in on that, but it sounds like, some of the discussion that came out of that, and things that we're just working with, and that I know the planning department is working with on the side, is, really thinking about when the bypass comes, what kinds of opportunities might that give us for the downtown area, and maybe slowing down traffic some, and beautifying the area, and really, making it even more walkable and, potentially bikeable as possible. And so it seems like there's a lot of good stuff happening. And just
Yeah. You'd be
that.
surprised what we found out on those walking tours. I mean, it was just amazing. Like, I had no idea that there's property behind Wells Fargo Bank where you park. And there's some land there that it's kind of like downhill, but there was talk about, oh wow, we can put like a little stream and some benches or something here, but just going to Wells Fargo to the bank, or just in passing, you wouldn't even think that that's available property back there. And so I think that we should do something like that. It brought out people into the town, and it was just really great. And I would suggest that perhaps maybe we should do tours every so often downtown.
Neat. Yeah. Well, thank you. I think am I next on the list, Matt? I think I'll just start talking. In going through our last meeting and sort of thinking in between, and looking more at our roadmap to livability brochures and everything like that, it really struck me that maybe we should be thinking about housing more. I had kind of thought of it more under senior programming, and maybe that we could, connect into some existing resources, and maybe have a workshop on doing small fixes to your home that might allow folks to stay in their homes for longer if that's what they would like to do, and things like that, which is great. And I know that the Bob and AARP are already doing, but we hadn't really captured sort of the bigger housing piece. And as I was looking through a housing workbook here, and it really, I mean, all these are fantastic, but it really breaks it down nicely, talking about housing focus on policies that impact new construction, home modifications, home repair and maintenance, and that some of it's just a lot broader than just the modifications piece, or even the repair and maintenance parts, or things like that. That especially with what we as a town have been through really the past year. I mean, it's gone on longer than that, but it's no secret that there was a potential development in the Johnson Farm area that had a lot of passionate feelings on various sides from all points of Jamestown. But regardless of that, and it did get contentious, there are areas left in town that will likely be developed in one way or another. And it's probably going to be housing, because that's the majority of what Jamestown is. And so would this be an opportunity for this committee to maybe, have a group that looks at those pieces of housing, instead of just putting the home modifications and sort of retrofitting your existing home, looking at the bigger picture and thinking about, what are there types of housing that we need in town that we don't have? Are there even the home repair and maintenance portion that, again, the housing workbook goes into? We didn't really talk as much about that. That, what about when you're in your home and you want to stay in your home, but you can't take care of it the way that you wanted to, or the way that maybe you used to be able to do? Are there opportunities for, working with other resources in the area to get information, or to connect with, whether it be, scout troops, or various civic groups and things like that, that may be able to provide some of those repairs, or even if it was having some sort of, list of known service providers. I don't know if that would be getting us into more trouble, but something that would be a resource again for seniors in the area who need to either make those modifications or you do home upkeep in ways that they maybe aren't as able to anymore. But I just kind of wanted to put that out to the group. Do you think that in addition to, the recreation and programming and caregiver support and that type of thing and Parks and Rec, do you think it makes sense to have housing, or would it make sense to kind of tuck that under something else?
I think it would make sense to make housing, and because, like you said, there is still a lot of land that I think eventually somebody's going to want to develop something. So why not do something like that? Just to have that opportunity to have, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, going back a couple of years ago, right up where, oh gosh, where is it? Oh, where is it? Aldi's? There's all that property down there. I don't know if you've had heard, they were talking about doing a senior living community, and for some reason, and it never, came to fruition, but there was talk about having a big, senior building or something like that. But my vision is, of course, to have something that is not just a tall building, but something that would give you the option of maybe purchasing a townhome or a condo that for a livable community, or a cottage or something like that, that's more conducive to Jamestown. I really couldn't see an apartment building kind of thing, but something like condos or townhomes or cottages would be nice. So I definitely am for that, for sure.
Dee? I think you're still muted.
There we go. Susan and I have been here all of our lives. I'm not going anywhere. So instead of so much focus, yes, we do need buildings. Don't mind that. Add focus onto helping those who cannot help themselves to stay in their own homes. I mean, for my part, the only way I'm leaving here is in a body bag. I love where I live. I love my neighborhood. I love the people. But I need help. I need lamps rewired. I'm not going to go on YouTube and learn how to rewire my own lamp. I'm sorry. Don't want to electrocute myself. Don't want to cause a house fire. And then the gardens, the community gardens that Tom was speaking about. You already have the mulch from debris pickup. That is another absolutely excellent source of senior activity, youth activity, family activity. And if we had that centralized and you could rent a bed or share, that would be fabulous.
I think it needs to be both things. I think we do need to help, like, as people that want to stay in their homes that need help. In my circumstance, like my parents, and I would need to downsize, probably stay in my house. It's on multi levels, and I'd have to downsize. I could not stay in my house, is what I meant to say. So I would need maybe something like the Riverwalk, like a duplex type of thing where you don't have to do the yard work. You wouldn't need a whole lot of land to create, maximize the space to have one level walk in, no steps. So I think it needs to be both, in my opinion.
So how would we focus on helping the existing elderly? Because with that take us away from them just brainstorming out loud, but is that another topic, subject, resources that we would look into? Like I'm thinking, where do we get that type of assistance to help the existing elderly to stay in their homes?
I know in the Catawba County Habitat for Humanity, they have grants that they've incorporated there to help homeowners bring their houses up to code, or add safety ramps, add safety handlebars in the showers. I know it's a program that they have intentionally tried to help people stay at home. I know also at several of the churches, they have handyman ministries that can do some of this stuff. Not maybe, some may have more technical skills than others, depending on their members. But that's another area that maybe we could tap into and explore. And then circling back to available housing, I automatically start thinking about, there's 2 patio home communities going down Guilford Road towards the Lowe's. There's the new patio homes right beside the new State Employee Credit Union. But it seems like what really we want is something closer to the center of Jamestown, so that people can take advantage of walking downtown, or the parks, or the trails, or that kind of thing, but more of that patio home, one level community. But I think the other extension of that is that lower income opportunity for aging in place, smaller kind of thing. And I don't know, I got the impression that the lower income service was something that was almost rejected in the lower housing costs with the Johnson farms. They wanted something more expensive, or more nicely made, and maybe with less dense. And when you're trying to get the cost down, the density goes up. There's less land. So I don't know, it's just kind of a balance of coming up with that right solution. And then if you're looking in the immediate Jamestown area, where is the land that's open and available to develop in the 3 square miles that we have? So, so I don't know, just seems to be some replication, but quagmire. So,
if I may, can you hear me? Anybody? Yes. I think emphasizing helping people stay in their own homes is a great magnet for our community as is. Laura, you've mentioned a number of services. Now, I knock on wood, I've not needed those, fortunately, but I had no idea they existed. I mean, to me, a simple place to start is a central location where somebody like myself could call and say, where do I find somebody who can add safety bars in my bathroom, or get a lamp rewired, or something like that. In other words, I just need to know where to get the resources that already exist, and that would be helpful to me in being able to stay in our house. Not to de-emphasize new housing, but you're right there. There are senior living centers all over, surrounding Jamestown practically. And so, granted, they may be expensive, I don't know, but staying in your own home and providing the services or the information seems to me to be a great service that we could offer.
Bob had his hand raised. Do you want to jump in, Bob?
Yeah, I'm going to bounce around and try to throw some things at you. First of all, I want to compliment this group on moving this far, this fast in this short a period of time. It's amazing. You've got great ideas. You've got a lot of background to go to. But I guess the big thing that I'm seeing is that you're looking at livable communities as a broad range of ages. You're not just looking at the middle age, the 65 plus, that 20-year-old plus. You're looking at as a whole, which is great, because what we go forward with for one age group will probably complement other age groups. So I think that's important. I want to just share a little bit about what I'm hearing. Housing is a very, very important area. I sit on a conversation earlier today with some of our representatives across the state, and they approved to pass on to an investigative committee, state level, to look at affordable housing. And I want to stress affordable housing. It's just not building something new. It's not building a place that you can purchase for $300,000 or $400,000. It goes back to affordable, and it goes back to that forgotten middle. Those people that are getting close to retirement, that are on a fixed income now or will be on a fixed income. So think about affordable housing. Going back to senior resources and some of the programs that are coming out of senior resources. Laura, they're a great program out there, and I compliment you for reaching out to them and talking with them. AARP has a program that we call Speakers Bureau, and we go to various areas and talk about various topics. And we've done that with senior centers. We've done it with senior resources. And Rebecca, I like that you're bringing up aging in place. I'm making a presentation Thursday with the senior center in King, which we're going to be looking at a program called Home Fit. And this is where I've had the privilege to speak to over 2,000 people across the state in the last couple of years. Now we're doing it virtually. But we go in and we share some thoughts, some ideas on some things that you can do to make that home an age-friendly home. Some of the things that you need to do to be safer in your home. And that's free. That's at no cost. I'm doing it, I may be off on my dates, but I think we're looking at either the last Tuesday of April or maybe the first Tuesday of May, that I'm doing it at the Senior Center in High Point. And, you know, we're doing 2 presentations there. We assume that we're going to share some information, have a lot of questions to follow up on. So that is available, and, you know, we can do that for the town of Jamestown. We also do things on caregiving. That information is free. You know, we will do it virtually. Hopefully in the near future, we can do it in face-to-face, which is a whole lot more fun. I've heard a number of comments about senior center. City of Greensboro has in their long-term plan, and I don't know how long-term that is, but putting a senior center in southwestern Greensboro. Wouldn't that be great if you guys could talk to your county commissioners and your city planners and say, hey, we need one here. We're in the middle. Do we really need to go to High Point? Do we really need to go to either one in Jamestown? Why not put one here in the middle someplace? a great discussion point. Bring those county commissioners and those planners together. Cycling programs, ADA access, just tremendous ideas. I could go on and on, so I'm just going to go ahead and shut up and listen some more, but my compliments, you guys are doing great. You're moving much faster than anyone else in the area has, and just happy to be part of it. Yeah, I'm done.
Well, thank you, Bob. Yeah, I was going to go to you after everything and say, okay, Bob, you're the expert. You've seen all this happen other places. What do we do next?
Well, I'm not an expert, so please don't use that.
Well, you've been privy to a lot of conversations and done a lot of presentations. And actually, when you were talking about the things that you do, I was thinking, maybe if we could partner with you all to do kind of a workshop series, one a month for a few months.
Definitely.
These topics that we've decided, based on the surveys that have been done through the parks plan and comp plan and things like that, and just the folks that we know and the people we have here, picking out those areas and having some workshops. That might be a quick way to get people information they need, but also maybe generate some more interest for this group and what we might want to do with that next. So I do want to be mindful of folks' time because it's a little after 5. So where do you all want to go from here? I think we fleshed out a little bit about the various committees. Do we want to kind of commit maybe to via email or just talking amongst ourselves separately, sort of doing kind of a deeper dive in each of these committees that we've said we're interested in, or maybe we could, have an email chain where we sort of, I don't want to say locked in because people are free to be interested in anything they like, but explore those areas a little bit more before the next meeting, or what are folks feeling like? Matt, what do you think?
Well, I just want to jump in that Katie's giving me the signal that we probably don't want to engage in an email chain conversation. As a board that was appointed by council, we're a public entity. And this is just, I'm gonna throw this out there, but we could always schedule meetings in the future, but through Zoom. But at some point, it may be helpful if we, if everybody's had a chance to get the vaccine and has done that, if we want to get together in person, say starting in May or something like that, we could get together in person and start having some conversations with Bob about doing some of those workshops. I'll just put that on the table.
That's a great idea. How are people doing vaccine wise? And do you think May would be the time?
Has everybody had just one?
I've had my first one.
Okay, somebody have 2.
No, I've had 2. I think getting together, again, being socially responsible about it, but we could figure out spacing and all the rest of it. And yeah, I wouldn't mind getting together. I'm just somehow so fired up about a senior resource center as being something to do. And again, if the only activity is, just providing information for existing seniors, that's a big start as far as I'm concerned. I went to just anecdotally, I went to the High Point Senior Center when let's see. Well, I guess when I turned 65, and they helped me get on the right Medicare plan. I mean, they had somebody in there who helped me, a nice lady, and I'm still on the plan, and I'm 76 years old now. I mean, it was great. So again, an information center to me would be a wonderful place, and I'd love to have if we could figure out a location, you know, I don't know, Rebecca, you're obviously going to have to, and Matt going to have to, because I can't figure out where we would do this, but it'd be nice.
You know, I'm gonna throw it out there. It sounds like a lot of everybody either's had at least one, if not two, or by the time that I'm gonna throw this date out there of May the 11th, everybody should have at least had a chance to get through their vaccines at that point. John did send me a message. John Farsheet said he had one. And then Bob also said that he's going to email a copy of the AARP Speaker Bureau. Perhaps we can start with some discussions about doing a workshop on staying in the home and doing some discussions around that first. And I'm just going to throw May the 11th on the table. We can always meet at the Civic Center at 4 o'clock if that works for everybody. Okay, so
I think that's great. I second that, Matt. Thank you. I think that's great.
Okay.
Yep, I'm in.
And Rebecca and Katie and I will work on our end to coordinate that and with Bob too. So just to make sure that we keep everybody in the loop, but we'll be in touch on that one. I'll put May the 11th at 4 p.m. on our calendar.
Great.
Excellent.
Well, you know, I guess until then, certainly, again, I would recommend, I know everybody's excited about these, but the Roadmap to Livability resources that we got from AARP. And then also, you know, Bob, you mentioned these online programs that you're doing. Is that something that, you know, even if it's for King, you know, would we be able to log on to that or kind of eavesdrop in there?
The Home Fit presentation, I got a call, I guess, last Wednesday, needing to fill a void for this coming Thursday. So we're able to respond on most of these very quickly.
Okay.
A lot of the materials that we share are on the website. So if you don't want to listen to me talk, just go to the website and pull down the book. The book's very helpful. I use it when I make my presentation. I think the best part of it is the slide presentation and the discussion amongst those attending. Because none of us are facing something that someone hasn't already faced. Whether it's getting in your house, getting around your bathroom, adding shower bar or grab bars in your shower. We've all been there. We have family that's been there. And that's the good part about it. Let's share those ideas and how we fix them. And most of the stuff we can turn around within a week, you know. So.
Well, great. Well, that is all very exciting. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing people in person. Everyone's, you know, heads and torsos are great, but it'll be nice to really be in the same room together in May. So thank you all for the presentations and for pulling everything together. Matt, do you have more?
That's it. If we don't have anything else, I'll wish everybody a good afternoon, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.